And we're back, guys. Welcome to Tennis in a Minute. I'm your host, Good Energy. You want to listen to this entire video as we are going to talk about Coco Gauff. She gets the victory over Siniakova. And listen, I remember a time where Siniakova was a pretty big deal on tour. And she still is. I think she's a top 40 player any day of the week. She's a great doubles player. And this is a tough win for Coco, but she's dominated the head-to-head. This is the fifth time they've played. We've seen Coco Gauff win 4 of them. And out of the 4 wins, 3 of them have been straight sets. But Coco does that to most people, guys, right? We've seen her beat a lot of the top players. Naomi Osaka. We've seen her destroy this top 10. Coco owns the head-to-head over Ons Jabeur, not a problem. Elena Rybakina. Arina Sabalenka. Now, Caroline Garcia just tied up the head-to-head recently, but that's a matchup where she previously dominated as well. What's wrong with Coco? Listen, I don't think anything's wrong with Coco. I think she will win her Grand Slam by the end of next year, and I think Wimbledon will be the first Grand Slam she wins. Wimbledon is the type of surface that favors Coco. She can serve well, one of the fastest serves on record at the U.S. Open, and she can play the net. Those drop shots, I tell you all the time, they're unpredictable on grass. And I do think grass favors Coco's game. We saw her at the age of 15 years old burst on the scene and destroy Venus Williams, literally making it into the fourth round of Wimbledon at 15. I think her big slam and breakout victory where she gets her slam, rather, it's going to be at Wimbledon. Now, a lot of people, I get a lot of messages about Coco. She's probably the most talked about player on the channel, aside from Iga Swiatek and Ons Jabeur. And of course, if we take a trip back a couple years, Annette Kontaveit was the big draw to this channel. So just want to say, hey, congratulations on a great career. It's unfortunate with the back injury, but the second half of her life, I'm sure it's going to be amazing, whatever she chooses to do. But Coco Gauff, guys. 38 win season last year. She's accomplished so much. And I honestly think she gets a bad rap because of what she said as a young teenager. Remember her saying she wants to, whatever, quote unquote, she wants to be better than Serena. I think that has come back to haunt her, and I think people are really letting her have it because she hasn't won a slam yet, but she's only 19. Right? Not many people have won a Grand Slam, 19 or younger. Let's just be honest, right? But the reality here is I think that statement's coming back to haunt her. And we've heard Alicia Parks say it too. Alicia Parks is now on the main tour and she's dominating with aces. Alicia Parks would have the most aces on tour if she played the amount of matches that, Rybakina and Garcia have played. They've played literally 12 to 15 more matches. We're talking at least 30, 60 more sets, depending if you go 2 or 3. But the reality here is I don't think there's anything wrong with Coco's game. A 38 win season last year, and 40% of the losses she had last year came to 3 people, guys. Iga Swiatek, Simona Halep, and Maria Sakkari. Now, of the 3 players, I do see her starting to turn the tides with the Sakkari head-to-head. I think Sakkari is just a bad matchup for her because Sakkari can match her athletic ability and her strength. That's where I think Coco runs into issues with Sakkari because Sakkari, look, she's 8, 9 years older than Coco, but we've seen Sakkari's power diminish over the last 2 to 3 seasons. She's not bullying opponents how she used to, and Sakkari says her serve is her favorite shot, but she's not putting up 8 to 10 aces anymore how she used to anyway. So I think Sakkari's power is starting to diminish, and it's about time Sakkari starts winning championships. I think she's flying under the radar a little bit too much, and for too long she has flown under the radar. Simona Halep, how does she beat Coco? Well, not only do they have the same coach in common, cheat sheet, Patrick, that's the way she's beating Simona. That's the way Simona's beating Coco. Let's just be honest, Patrick, right? If you take a look at those matches, Simona Halep beat Coco by literally attacking the forehand when she's facing north. A lot of those matches early on were pretty close. Around the 7th, 8th, 9th service game, that's when Simona started to really break through attacking the forehand. That's how Simona's beat Coco, but come to find out, she was cheating, taking a substance that creates more oxygen and blood flow. That's a big deal in tennis. Tennis is about stamina. If you can get quick recovery, having an edge over your opponent, that's That's cheating. Let's just be honest. So did that influence those wins? Of course they did. Now let's take a look at Iga Swiatek. Iga by far has been a nightmare for Coco. And how does Iga beat Coco? Well, let's just be honest. Iga Swiatek has one of the most accurate serves on tour, but I personally think Iga's footwork is what separates her from anyone on tour, including Coco. Now, a lot of experts say in terms of footwork, Iga has the best footwork and Coco's second. I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. But the problem is Iga's first to Coco's second is years ahead, right? Iga's footwork is so amazing. And I think that's what gives Coco problems because not only is Iga playing accurate in terms of serving, but she plays quick strike tennis. She transitions well from offense to defense. And literally, she's looking for short rally winners. There's been talks about Coco changing her grip, changing the way she plays. I really don't think she needs to do much, to be honest with you. You take a look at Serena Williams and Venus. Now, the early part of their career when they started to dominate, the technology wasn't as advanced. They didn't have all these resources to find out what their next opponent is doing, what their tendencies are, how they played last match. They didn't have, all this computer technology where they could literally play the match that same night in their hotel room with their coach and game plan. That wasn't around. It wasn't available. So they had to literally be the best player they can be before stepping on the court. They had to literally perfect all types of situations, all types of grips, serve placements, etc., etc., forehand, backhand. They had to perfect those shots before the match started. In today's tennis world, the resources are there where you can game plan and you can scout and your coach can come up with a strategy for your next opponent. In my opinion, I don't think Coco needs to change too much about her game because she breezes through a lot of these Masters and Grand Slam events. She's making it to the third, fourth, quarterfinal. She's making it deep in these draws pretty easily. She's not even losing sets in a lot of these big tournaments. But when she's running into these players like Simona Halep, who, by the way, I think will be active soon. Her information's back on the WTA site, so hopefully that's a good thing. But when she's running into these players here, I think they have to work on a better strategy. Now, if we take a look at the French Open last time they played Iga Swiatek and Coco, that first set was very competitive. Now, what was Coco doing? She was mixing it up more towards the net. Iga Swiatek, by all means, she's a great player, but she's not a phenomenal net player. She does not want to hang around towards the net. She really doesn't, guys. And she's the type of player that she wants to stand about a foot or two inside the baseline and play quick strike tennis, hit winners down the line. That's what Iga Swiatek does. She's going for the winner in literally 5 shots or less. How's Coco going to beat that? Well, she's proven so far she can't. But how can she beat it? She's going to have to do what she did in that first set of the French Open. She has to live by the drop shots and the slices and get more aggressive with the backhand. The problem with Coco, if you take a look at a lot of the close matches and the matches she loses, she's being way too nice out there. She's playing tennis. She's going to have to step up and be a lot more aggressive and hit winners. That's the only way you're going to beat Iga Swiatek. Not only do you have to be aggressive, hit winners, mix up the net play, but you have to get Iga Swiatek deep behind that baseline. Take a look at the match I called between Sofia Kenin and Aryna Sabalenka. How did Kenin beat Sabalenka? Well, I say it all the time. You cannot keep the ball in the center of the court when you're playing Aryna Sabalenka. You can do that with Elena Rybakina because she's taller. She's going to make more mistakes trying to hit cross-court winners at the center of the court. But Sabalenka, she's so skilled and she has that looping, powerful forehand where she can, even though she's a taller player, she can still get it over the net and hit winners from the center of the court. To beat Sabalenka, the same with Iga Swiatek, you're going to have to keep her deep behind the baseline, but Coco's going to have to go to those corners early on in the rally. Make Iga Swiatek uncomfortable because Iga's looking to finish you off in 5 shots or less. If Coco can do that, I think she'll have more success against Iga. And let's just be honest, aside from the first time they played, this first set at the French Open was the most competitive set she's ever had against Iga Swiatek. So we do see the improvements. Now, in the second set, she got broken early, and you saw the expressions on her face. Mentally, I do think she needs to work a little bit on her mental game. Now, I told the story about the three basketball teams where one team practiced every day for 30 days. One team did not practice. They only watched mental videos, preparing, watching film, mentally preparing themselves. And then you had a team that did not practice. Who improved the most over 30 days? Well, the team that only watched videos, mentally preparing, improved just as much as the team that physically prepared on the court itself. So the reality here is I do think that the game now is really mental more than ever. And I think a lot of social media and all this, whether it's Twitter or all these other, TikTok accounts where you have fans, they have the opportunity to really bash players. And a lot of this stuff does get back to the athletes, and it really can send them in a depression. I personally think Coco, if she works on her mental game a little bit more, like, for example, that second set at the French Open against Iga Swiatek, look, stuff like that shouldn't really get her down. Getting broken, you have to put that behind you. There's nothing you can do to change it. If you look at Coco's facial expression, she wears a lot of that frustration on her face. Your opponents can pick up on that and they can sense that. So if she can do a better job of having a poker face and not getting so down on herself, and I've said it before, having your parents watch these matches, every single match in the stands, that's a lot of pressure. And I do feel she's under a lot of pressure, especially being one of the most popular tennis players in the world. She's under a lot of pressure, but if I can assure Coco fans and herself, she has nothing to worry about. She's a very skilled tennis player. None of these players in the top 10 have done what she's done at the age of 18. She's highly skilled. Now, in terms of her changing her grip, I don't think she should change her grip or the way she plays, to be honest with you. I think she should just focus on game planning for players like Simona Halep, Sakkari, and Swiatek. Other than that, she's dominating the tour. It's just three players that are frustrating her and ruining her chances of winning these big tournaments. Now, in terms of the Western grip, we know Iga uses a Western grip. We know Coco indulges in the Western grip as well. Me personally, having played college basketball, I play tennis, I use an Eastern grip because it's the easiest, quite frankly. It's the easiest to use, and I think it's better for transitioning when you're playing tennis. I would say, in terms of Coco, a lot of players, when they become tennis players, they start at an early age, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. They learn the style their coach teaches them. So a lot of professional athletes, they don't really have a say in the style that they're taught with. Me being a boxer, I was trained by a fighter that was trained by Joe Frazier. So we grew up boxing the Philly style. That's how I was trained. I had no say in that. I learned to be a good fighter with that style. So tennis players learn to play with the style they have. Now, a lot of people say the Western grip, a lot of people aren't good at returning drop shots and net play. And yeah, if you take a look at Iga Swiatek, I don't think she's the best net player. But her footwork is so amazing. Her athletic ability is so amazing. She's a pretty good net player. She's not the best net player. And a lot of people think just switching from the Western grip to be able to return drop shots and short balls is tough. It is tough, but when you've been doing it for 19 years, you learn to adapt. And in terms of, I gave the basketball shooting analogy the last video. I shoot what you would call probably a technical shooting style, right? I keep my left hand positioned under the ball, my left hand positioned to the outside of the ball, and I follow through with, just a follow through motion, like a straight line guiding the ball through the rim, seeing the ball go through the net visually. That's a technical style. But if you take a look at players like Sean Marion that played for the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns, he's got one of the worst styles ever. Some of the newer players like Ball, that plays for the Chicago Bulls, he has a horrible shooting style, right? One of the worst three-point shooters in the league. And a lot of people contribute that to his style. I don't necessarily think it's the style he has. I think that he's shooting the way he's comfortable shooting because that started at an early age. Can you change the way he shoots? Of course you can't. There's no way you can change the way he shoots at this point of his career. That's like changing Senyakova's service motion. It's not going to happen. And if you do, it's going to take 3 years. She'll be in her 30s by the time she gains a new style. And what will it do? Her career will be just about almost over. In terms of Ball, the only way he's going to get better is just by shooting more three-point shots. I don't think changing his technique at this point is going to do him any justice, because he's not the best three-point shooter, but he's not the worst. He's in his 30s, which is about average for the league. But a lot of people will downplay his shooting motion as the reason for him being a bad three-point shooter. And I think if we take a look at tennis, a lot of people like to analyze the way these tennis players hold their rackets, and they like to contribute that to matches that they lose and this and that. I don't think so. When you're a professional athlete, that means you're highly skilled and you're really, really good at what you do. Now, the way you hold your racket, does that improve some situations that could happen? It can. Could it hurt you in some situations? It's possible, but the reality here is you become a great tennis player by doing the things that you're good at and the things that got you there. I don't think Coco needs to change anything. If she does change something, it's going to be the way she game plans for these opponents that are beating her. Tennis in a minute. Stay tuned. Comment below. What do you think? We'll be back in a minute.